Introducing the true god of EAM, nicknamed King Ben of Lev, because.
Does everyone else try to talk like this, or is it just me?
Do you not want to interrupt my fucking introduction?
No, I won't. It's all about me, so I won't.
Yeah, to be fair, no one's got an introduction like this. Anyway, introducing the true god of EAM, drummer and secret vocalist, nicknamed King Ben of Lev, because he's the king, obviously, and more importantly, he once worked with a subway worker to create a sub with a phrase of let's do that, when he was asked if he wanted tomatoes on his sub. Ben, thank you for joining me on.
Thank you for letting me be here. This is brilliant.
What is likely the first of this series. You are the guinea pig, as such. So, when was the first time that we met?
Right, let's go. So, let's go down memory lane. We met after I messaged, or Jacob messaged me on a band meeting society on Bandstock. It started off with a general conversation saying, look, we're looking for a drummer. We need to be like a nice sort of guy. And then I noticed sort of the right sort of band, because Jacob was talking about the sort of music, your sort of influences was completely spot on. And and then we went along. I came along to like a sort of like a. I wouldn't say. Would you say like an assessment, or like you wanted to see how I do?
Not an assessment. It was just more of we'll meet up, see what it's like, and then we'll make a judgment from there at the Warren. By the way.
And from then, I was set. I mean, I thought, okay, this is pretty much perfect. This is amazing. Two little chaps which I just met, completely strangers, and then we just clicked over sort of music, which is honestly how bands should meet. So that's how I felt like how we sort of got our techniques and music coming together.
Well, with that, I think that when had an audition or meeting with another drummer before Ben, and he was very talented, but in terms of the way we'd approach music and kind of as a communication, we thought would struggle with him because he didn't really seem like a very communicative, if that's even a fucking word. Didn't seem like that sort of a person. But with you listened, you did basically the same that he did, except from you stopped and you sort of listened. Even though, we joke on, and sometimes when we're trying to communicate with each other,
exactly.
It's not always straightforward, but it's a hell of a lot more than was with him. And also immediately we just thought, like, he's a good laugh. And the thing we had on the advert was, we're looking for a drummer, but we're also looking for a mate, and that's the same thing we had on the advert for a bass player and a singer. And so give us a good memory you've had of everything that's been, like, either in a live setting or out of a live setting in a pub, for example.
Right. I think I might have told you about this, but this is a brilliant time that's right in the back of my memory, is the time where we had your parents and Jay's parents, and it was a great laugh. We started off at different pubs around York. I think we started at the Hob, went to another pub just on the other side, and then we went to the Stone Roses, of all places. It was fantastic. And it was polished off by carrying Jay on our backs, with his feet. That was one of the best, memories up there.
But when you're saying about when it was my parents and Jacob's parents and we went to the pubs and stuff, what was nice about that was it was one of those moments where, yes, we're in a band, but the whole thing, as I said, we were looking for band members and mates, and moments like that are very reassuring, certainly to me, because it's like we are together having a laugh, and it's nothing to do with the music. And I always think that's obviously a very important thing.
Lovely.
What I want to talk to you about is Time, which will either have been released or going to be released, but I'm sure people will know about it.
Yeah.
So with Time, I'm going to focus on a certain section, which obviously is you in all your glory, which is the drum solo. And I was just wondering if you could roughly talk about why you thought doing a drum solo and what kind of inspired you and influenced to go, oh, well, I'm going to do this drum solo. And then as gigs have gone by, adding in more things, why you came to the decision of kind of adding layers, if that makes sense.
So I think it all came about when I was hearing Jay's pattern on, when I say Jay, I mean Jacob. He has like a pattern on the 1 and the 3 on time. You'll notice if it comes out, it's really a good dancing beat. But then it will get a bit more syncopated with the bass. And then I think there was like a 1, 2, 3 moment. And then, I don't know, from there, I can hear some sort of jazz influence coming in just to have some sort of solo, I guess, because it's a perfect drumming song for funk. And that's what I've been doing throughout the past. I can try to bring that in with a bit of funk, with the syncopations. And like you said, for your question, how do we adapt it? It was, I don't think it was me, but I think it was either Andrew's idea, where it was just meant to be 4 bars, but then it was 8 bars, and then during the whole solo, people adapt their own little things, like build it up with the melodies. Andrew did a great job by doing slides, and I know at the end it went back into the chorus, and I think it did fit quite well. So I'm very pleased with everyone else and how it came together as a good format as a solo. And sometimes I do struggle, so you can see me just thinking, oh, what am I doing? I don't think I'm in time.
Don't tell them that. Don't say that. It's perfect every time.
I normally just play it off well with a smile.
Going from talking of time to the gig setting, you've already said you enjoyed the Vanbrugh gig. So would you say that's one of your favourite gigs so far, or do you have another gig that we've done which you also enjoy?
We're going to Leeds in a small little car, having all our stuff just packed the boot, and it was just, I don't know, thinking about singing Christmas songs all the way back. There's a lot of like backstory to the whole gig as well. So we did go to Wetherspoons pub. That was pretty fun because we had a rating system, and we had to like talk about how good this Wetherspoons pub for some weird, bizarre reason. And then you'll find out on our Instagram that there's like ratings of pubs. It's like how good the toilets are. It's crazy. But also the actual gig itself. Was I don't know. I'll call it interesting. There were like 5 people watching, maybe a bit more, but the act afterwards was an interesting moment for all of us. We can say it was to
name him exactly. It was Master CDB.
So you got the name.
He wasn't called Master, but he was like a grind person, and there was 2 others, and his other mate was doing it, and he just seemed like a mate, and he was actually a little bit better than him. But then there was this other guy who came on, but the thing is they kept just going off to get pints, and the other guy would take over, which is like I mean, people have their own way of doing live gigs, and obviously that's a certain way.
Yes, that's in a way.
Hats off to him for doing that. But that was one of those, like, in terms of gigs, it was a one which might not necessarily have aided any growth for popularity, but we all enjoyed it because of the car journey. It began the rating of Spoons, CDB,
and the Christmas journey back.
Yeah, and the journey back singing Christmas songs was obviously very fun.
Absolutely.
Good. But no, those 2 gigs, I think, definitely good ones. So moving on from this band to bands you have been in, because there's 3 bands that you were in, which I found out the other week, which I didn't know. I thought it was only 1, but I just wondered if you could run through the bands you were in and what the genres are like, and if you had any notable gigs.
Wow. So way back, I started off when I was probably 12, 13. That's when I only just started playing the drums. So it was a good 8, maybe 9 years ago. and then I was only just, getting to grips of how to keep in time. And the first thing I was trying to get used to is playing funk, because there was a big funk influence around Cambridge during the jazz festival. Everything just came together. So I formed a band with a couple of my mates, and we formed a funk band called, I remember the name now, it's called Moon Freak. And it's all about, it was a great laugh. We just played around with different forms of settings of timings, and working on the 1, 2, and 3, 4 of a bar. And it was great. We just played around different festivals in Cambridge. But that was a lot of influence from my jazz piano. So coming from jazz into drums was a great sort of leeway, I guess. But now, coming further in time, I've hit a band in my sixth form called Matty and the Bull Sharks, which was previously called Susan's Extra Arm, if the name of the title gets any better than that. But that was another interesting band where we got to support the slaves. That was probably the highlight of the band. But the band was for mainly just getting us introduced into how to play music in front of an audience, and how to feed off them, and how to give them, it's the interaction that we learned, and it was great. It was a lot of mosh pits that we enjoyed. My next band is just a band that I transitioned between gap year and my uni year, and then going to everything up midnight. It's called Transis or something. It was more of an indie rock sort of band, and I just enjoyed it because we just played sets of covers, going around different pubs and stuff. But now look at us, we've got Aidan Robson here with everything after midnight, with Jacob Cooper, Steph, and Andrew Thomas. So that's pretty much a journey of Ben Levy.
To be fair, in terms of names, I mean, I like all the names. I think are pretty fucking good names. Like, what was the first band called?
Moon Freak. There was a name before that, but I don't think it made the cut. But Moon Freak was a funky band that we got. We've got a Facebook. I don't think anyone's been on it for years, but we have got a Facebook. We've got a couple of videos where we had a recorder to come in. There's a video called Tomorrow Today. It's just a laugh. So I wouldn't check it out, but if I would, recommend it, you can just have a little look through there.
In terms of you were talking about, obviously, Matty and the Bull Sharks, another good name, but you briefly mentioned, obviously, punk rock royalty Slaves. So I was just wondering if you could talk about what happened, the circumstances of just getting a gig, and just the ins and outs. Pretty please. So
Slaves was probably one of the biggest highlights of my life so far as a gig, because that was crazy. So it was a tiny venue in Cambridge called Portland Arms, and if you know about Portland Arms, the stage is only 1 or 2 inches off the ground, so and our capacity is all about 70 people. So we as a band didn't have any links apart from one person, and she apparently knew the manager of Slaves only through a weak connection, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we can maybe get you a slot with Slaves if they come here." And next thing you know, we saw a big Slaves transit van with one of them with a double glazed mirrors, and you have big 4x4s parked all outside the drive of Portland Arms, and we're thinking, what is going on? Why is Slaves in Portland Arms? And next thing you know, we're supporting Slaves at the Portland Arms, and that was a crazy gig. So during that time, it was releasing a song. So it was during this same month of Are you afraid or are you satisfied? And that was the same time where they were releasing Hunter, different huge songs. And one of the best part of that gig is Isaac shouting, the hunter, while just jumping into the crowd and then just crowd surfing and bring me back, down, now, and then we just screamed. Even a sound engineer had to get off the stage and had to block the fence and push it forward because everyone just barged it forward. It was an interesting time. But that was the Slaves experience. So.
I think with it, it's funny because so we did this audition for Ben, and he made this off the cuff, unintentional vegan joke, which obviously now we know may not have been a joke. But then we had a practice. It must have been like a second practice, and obviously I have been a big Slaves fan since when they released Are You Satisfied, which is when Ben supported them at Portland Arms, and I wore this T-shirt of I can't remember if it was one of the more recent tours, but anyway, wore this T-shirt and he went, "Are you a fan?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, are you a fan?" And he was like, "Oh, I've supported them," and that was one of those other things where it was like, tick. There's another, there's another reason to have this mad motherfucker in the band. But it is cool the fact that you've supported Slaves, and the fact it was in a tiny pub, and as you're saying, all the things that went with it. Obviously, it sounded like a fucking cool gig, and I am obviously incredibly jealous. You prick.
I'm not going to provide it in anymore, apart from I got Isaac's signature on one of my drum kits sticks, so I'm not going to say that to you. So I'm not going to wind it up anymore.
Was that the same stick that I put in your kit for the?
I'll be so mad if that was the case.
So I'll just quickly say this, and then I'll go on to the quick fire round. So we were doing this gig in Home Faith, and it was in this pub that Jacob works in. And I mean, it was very sweaty, and it wasn't really a gig venue or for what we wanted. And it was fine because we still had a good time. And I mean, the main event of that night was us all getting pissed in Home Faith with mine and Jacob's parents. And we had a little intermission. And we had this intermission, and we went to get pints or water, etc., etc. And there was obviously in Ben's kit where there's like the joints and stuff. I was pretending to put a drumstick down, but my girlfriend was doing it, and I said, "Oh, give me a turn to do it." And then I dropped it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Everyone was going mad saying, "Why the fuck have you done that? Oh my god!" However, this is why I interject, and this is one of the reasons why, obviously, I love Ben, but also sometimes he can be a bit of a devil, because he said, "That's my only drumstick."
No, that's true. It was my only drumstick.
He had another one, but what I'm saying here is, let's put it this way. Do you think that Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters, do you think he did Glastonbury and he went on to Glastonbury and he had one pair of drumsticks?
No, we're not playing.
So, what Ben led from this is take more than one pair, because A, I'm in the band, but B, all good drummers and musicians have more than one pair. Luckily, he had his acoustic pair, which is the pair that we asked him to bring, but he thought he forgot. So, who fucking cares about the story? Why am I saying the story? No one cares. There's only going to be 5 people watching this.
And just like got your guitar and just snaps it or something. I'm like, oh, you must have bought a second guitar. That's completely reasonable. I mean, what?
To be fair, if a string went on my guitar, because I only take one with us because I only have one, I would kind of. If I didn't have spare strings. No, actually, I'm prepared. You're the one on the wrong.
I'm not prepared. No, it's
always your fault.
You taught me to be organised, so I need to thank you for this.
Okay then. So we've reached the final round, the final boss battle of this interview. And it's a quick fire round, so I'm gonna fire some questions at you, Ben.
All right.
Request some answers immediately. If you don't answer them quick enough, then I'm going to replace you with Isaac from Slaves, which is never going to happen. And more importantly, I wouldn't want that to happen. So,
there we go. Let's go.
First question. King Lev or Ben the Lev?
Ben the Lev. Ben the Lev. It rings.
Got a good ring to it. It's fair enough. And now, a controversial question. A sausage sandwich or sausage roll?
What is a sausage roll? A sausage sandwich. Sausage sandwich.
I'm gonna add some context. Ben told me the other week that we were just in conversation, and sausage sandwich was brought up, and he said, "What's a sausage sandwich?" And it took us. I was a bit like, "You don't know what a sausage sandwich is?" And you went, "No." I said, "You know, like you have like for breakfast. He's like, do you like chop sausages up and put it in bread and put sauce?" I was like, "Well, I mean, yeah, but you've never had one before." And he was like, "No." So we went. So I'm not going to question that because it's Ben, and he's a wonderful, lovely, eccentric person. But obviously, sausage roll, I'm guessing, is what you're going for.
Sausage, sausage roll. Yeah. What's this?
You struggled a bit there with sausage.
Huh?
You were going sausage. Yeah. You should have just said yes.
Yes, sausage sandwich. You're getting me confused now.
Jesus Christ or Aidan Robson?
Aidan Robson.
What's your favourite biscuit?
Chocolate Liviners.
Ah, I know exactly which one you mean as well. That's a very
yours
good
are the Aldi knockoff one. It's pretty good. It's called Chocolate Squares. The original, isn't it?
Do you know what? If people didn't actually know Aldi did knockoff ones, and you just said that, people would probably be like, "Yeah, it's just bullshitting." Just because, like, just going chocolate. I know exactly what you mean. We're going chocolate Liviners, and you go, "Oh yeah, I know which ones? Oh yeah, Aldi ones. It's called chocolate biscuits with chocolate squares." I know exactly what you're on about though, because they're all really nice.
It's the one with the biscuit bottoms and the chocolate. I think it's dark chocolate on top.
They're all really nice. Like, I'm not going to criticise them because they're tasty.
His question: would you dip that in tea or just eat it by itself?
What would I if I had to choose between the two? I don't know. I think I've done it with tea, and I don't mind it as much. But chocolate doesn't get on. Like, for example, when you put a custard cream in tea, and you eat custard cream, it's like goes soft and creamy. But with that, the biscuit goes a bit soggy, and the chocolate does it melts a little bit. But if you leave it in too long,
that's the problem. If you leave it in too long, because you've got an exception for like digestives, anything like that. You'll go for the normal biscuit, but not the chocolate biscuit.
I would say with normal biscuits, I would generally dunk them in tea over fancy ones. So, for example, you know the Fox's ones where it's the ginger biscuit and cream milk. I probably wouldn't go for putting that in tea. But as I said, custard creams, bourbons, the traditional hardcore ones.
Okay.
Put that in your tea. Anyway, back to this fucking interview. we can have a whole interview on discussing biscuits. My final question is: describe yourself in one word.
One word. Wow. Can we just edit out the pause? Because this is actually a pretty difficult one. I'll probably go for Sting and Shaggy. I know that's terrible.
3.
Not like there's hyphens in between.
All right, then go on.
Let's go.
Right, let's go from that. Sting or Shaggy?
Yeah, good point. Shaggy.
Shaggy. So Ben is describing himself as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yes. You know what? That fits the bill.
Oh my god. Ben, describe yourself in one word. Sting and Shaggy. Can you tell the influence I've had on Ben and likely the rest of my band? Jesus Christ. Well, on that bombshell, we've reached the end of the first and arguably the best interview that I'm probably ever going to have in my life.
You reckon?
We had a long debate on biscuits.
I've ever had in my life, so it works both ways.
And Ben can't describe himself in one word without referencing the influence I've had on him. But I've had a wonderful time, and it's been lovely having you. Thanks for being on the show, Ben.
Been fantastic.
So it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from Ben. Say bye, Ben.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for all 5 viewers for watching. Bye.